Good morning, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. What we want to do today is take a look at how the molecules in water react with temperature. We want to do an experiment to see how temperature affects the way things move in water. And what I have here is I have one beaker of water, about 200 milliliters, and it is room temperature. It's been sitting out overnight so that it is perfectly equal in temperature to the room around it. I also have a mixture of ice water, which according to this is about 32 degrees. And so it is much colder than the room temperature water, which would be about 70 degrees. Then I have a container of hot water, which is about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And so what we want to do is we want to compare what happens with these different types of water. So let me add about 200 milliliters of my hot water to a beaker, give it a chance to settle down and stop mixing around. And then I'm going to add about 200 milliliters of my ice water. So now we have three different temperatures of water. All of the containers are the same. The only thing different between these waters are the temperature. Now, what we want to do is we want to add a food coloring to each container of water. And based on the temperature and how the molecules are moving, we should see a difference in each container. And so use your document sheet that you were sent. You can record the temperatures of the water. The room temperature water was about 70 degrees. The ice water is about 32 degrees. And the hot water is 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's start with our room temperature water. We want to observe what happens to the food coloring as we place it into the container. So I'm going to add a few drops. There's 2 drops of food coloring. I'm using dark blue so you can see. And we see the food coloring is not completely mixing, but it's lowering slowly to the bottom of the room temperature water. Now for the cold water, I want to add 2 drops. 1, 2. And we see a difference here. The cold water, the food coloring is kind of staying together. In the room temperature container, it's starting to mix throughout. And let's see what happens with our hot water. 1 and 2 drops. And give it a second to take a look and see what we have here. Again, 3 different temperatures of water. Our cold water here, our room temperature water here, and our hot water. And you can see that the food coloring is reacting differently in all 3 containers. It is mixing in the room temperature. It's mixing much slower in the cold water, but in our hot water container, you can already see I did it last, but it's starting to become blue throughout the container. You see a lot more clear water in the first beaker, the cold water. There's still some clear water in the room temperature, but if you look closely, you see that almost all of the water, the hot water, is turning blue. So that shows us that the molecules are moving around much faster with the hotter water. And so this is something you can create here. If we were to get this water even colder, we could probably slow down the reaction. If we got this even hotter, we could speed up the reaction. So you see the difference in temperature, the cold, room temperature, and hot water. And so use this information to help you fill out your information on your CAMI sheet. Don't forget the temperatures were 32 degrees on the cold water, 70 degrees on the room temperature, and 140. I can even feel the heat. You can even see that the container is kind of fogging up. That has to deal with the heat from the water. And so that was 140 degrees Fahrenheit. All of those temperatures are Fahrenheit. Use this information to help you fill out your document. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.